Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nicole Hennessy. I'm the Vice President and Director of Communications at the Music Business Association. So glad you could be here today for the Music Biz Passport. This one's a special one, not only because we're talking about Brazil, which, which is in the top 10 biggest music markets worldwide, but also because it's a two-part series. Music Biz Passport came to us many years ago. We wanted to have a way in our event series to connect the U.S. markets with markets around the world, and the Passport series has been um, very popular. And Brazil has definitely been one of those countries that everybody wants to talk about and hear about. So I just have a few housekeeping things here, and I'm going to let everybody jump right in. Um, on the bottom of your screen, we have a Q&A box. If you have questions for our panelists, that's where we'd like you to type those questions into the box. And if time allows, our moderators will answer questions that are in that box. Again, remember, this is a two-part series. We have our first Why Brazil Matters for Latin Music from 2 to 2:45, and Global Beats expanding Brazil's music around the world from 2:45 to 3:30. So if you have questions for that first panel, get those in that Q&A box so they can answer those for you if time allows before that 2:45 mark. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to our speakers from panel one. Again, I thank you all for being here today. I thank you for our speakers for sharing their time and expertise. And let's get started with why Brazil matters for Latin music.
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Music Bees, for having us. So good to be here with my friends talking about the favorite country in the world. Why Brazil matters for the music, Latin music, I would say why Brazil matters for the world music. It's all about Brazil at this moment, and I'm super proud of being part of this discussion here with my friends Pedro Kurtz, head for America's Deezer, Yan Hayashi, the manager for the one and only Pablo Vittar, Marcela da Rocella, commercial director for Sua Música. I would start, I mean,
Uh-oh, looks
bit.
like Chris's audio is
We lost Chris
freezing.
for a second, yeah.
I'll drop her a quick note, maybe a restart. There she goes. I see her drop out. Hopefully she'll pop right back in. There she is.
I'm so sorry. I was not supposed to really break the protocols like that, but I mean, the internet just disappeared.
You are
Anyway,
good. We
going back.
see you now.
Thank you. Well, anyway, back in 2019, I went to France for a conference I miss a lot called MIDEM. And we spoke in a panel that was how to put Brazil back in the global map. And the trick question was, is baile funk the answer? And it's funny because at that time I was not even working for the Brazilian funk thing. So from then, now it was a long journey and I've been seeing Brazil growing and growing so far. Anyway, so Brazil is the 9th country on IFPI report. Recently, I attended an FPI regional meeting with some predictions like Brazil to surpass more countries in the coming years. So we may see Brazil like in the 8th and the 7th year on year. So it's amazing to see how we can keep growing and expanding in a different way. I mean, from the publishing side to the master side, PROs growing a lot on the business. So we are doing a great job here. So having said that, I will start talking with my friend Pedro Kurtz, because we are like so used to talk in panels together that would be a little bit weird not starting from him. And Deezer was a kind of visionary, Pedro, because Deezer is a French company and Brazil was key years and years ago. So it's interesting seeing that movement. And I know that you are like traveling worldwide, speaking about Brazil, also translating the country, the culture, the needs to your bosses and friends and whatever. So bring us your perspective on why we should keep an eye on Brazil and what we can learn and teach for other regions.
Thanks, Chris, for the amazing intro. I have to say, just before I start answering your question, that I miss you in New York City for the Indie Week. We should be doing this together. It's well, we have to talk about that, our friendship there. Anyways, but well, thanks everyone. Thanks Music Biz for putting this together, and thanks everyone for joining this call. Just looking forward to always keen on speaking about Brazil. And I think, well, to start with, Brazil, as Chris brilliantly said, it's the 9th country on the IFPI. We've been out of the top 10 for a while, but we're back. And for everyone to know, just think about it. Like, we have a huge foreign exchange problem when we talk about Brazil, right? So $1 is worth what, 5.6 BRL right now. And even so, we're the 9th country on the recording side worldwide. I think it's really important to understand that Brazil is a continental country, like 220 million people. Though there's a low penetration of paid music subscriptions, it is immense in volumes, and we've been developing the country in every sense, on the live music side, on the publishing side, on the recorded music side. So Brazil is now exporting artists officially on a more frequent basis, and there's much more to come over the course of years, because music is becoming more and more legalized in Brazil, and we're making more and more revenues out of it, despite the price sensitiveness of the region. So I think for us, for countries like Mexico and some other countries in the South Cone as well, we've been seeing great development, and music is an essential part of the Brazilian culture. So Brazilians listen to music a lot. The numbers we see inside the platform on Deezer in terms of engagement are very, very superior compared to other regions that we operate in. And so it's a very fertile soil for the music business altogether. Brazil is just this incredible country where people are willing to collaborate, and now looking at other countries for the first time on a more frequent basis between the artist community and the recorded music industry. So I think all in all, what I would say is, if there's people in this room that never set foot in Brazil, do it, and do it frequently. Come at least once a year, get to know the music business, get to know the artists, the community, the managers, the platforms, everyone in the business, because it's huge, but you have to understand the culture to be a part of it. And this is a discussion that I have with Chris and Jan and Marcel as well. Like, we talk about collaborations between artists from Brazil and from other countries, and especially artists from other countries coming into Brazil and wanting to have a footprint in the region. So all in all, it's great. And I think Deezer has been in Brazil for more than 15 years now. We were the second DSP to get to Brazil. The first one was Cardio, if anyone remembers Cardio, an amazing platform as well. We've been doing a mix of business. So there's a lot of the partnerships angle that we do with great companies like TIM, like Mercado Libre, like Itaú. But there's also a very significant B2C user base that we've been fostering for the past 15 years. And that is basically it for the very introduction of this Brazil. Giving it back to you, Chris.
Amazing. We are all Deezer fans here. And it's because you kind of like have some intersection with Marcela, because Marcela runs a company, I mean, it's a platform called Sua Música. And Sua Música has a strong presence in the north and northeast of Brazil. And the funniest part about Brazil is that we have many Brazilians inside Brazil. We always say that, right, Pedro? So many Brazilians inside Brazil, different cultures. So it's a continental country. So for an artist to get an audience here is like a big, big thing. So we are frequently like focused in Brazil as our key market. And Sua Música had a great, I mean, an amazing job in the northeast of Brazil, mentoring, teaching a market that was completely out of the main scope for formalization, protocols, contracts. I remember in the very beginning when we started having conversations about the whole project, what I'm super, super fan. And north and northeast of Brazil borders with so many interesting countries with rich music, like rich culture, like Colombia, Venezuela, Peru. And you have just came from São João, I mean, the biggest party in the north of Brazil. So bring us some thoughts and perspective on how we can cross collaborate with these regions. And Sua Música recently stepped in these neighboring countries, expanding the business there. So what you can bring to us from your perspective here?
Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. I would like to say that I'm very happy to be here and thank you, the event, and to Chris to making this Brazilian gathering happen. It's a pleasure to be here. Going straight to your question, we see a lot of similarities between like Latin countries and Brazil. If you take like Tecnobrega, for example, which is a rhythm, a genre in the north of Brazil, is very similar with Peruvian chicha, electronic cumbia. If we take the piseiro, forró, which is very a hit in north of Brazil, is very similar to cumbia, funk with reggaeton, sertanejo with bachata, country music. So we really see a lot of similarities, but not only about the genres, but with collaboration. So we really believe collaboration can be a powerful strategy for Latin artists to come to Brazil. We saw some collaborations recently. Anita does this very well with J Baldwin, for example. We have Luan Santana with Camila Cabello as well, which make and mix it up. Bachata, Latin pop, and sertanejo, which is the main genre here in Brazil. So we really think powerful strategy for Latin artists is to come here through collaboration. This can be a powerful strategy and give since the beginning a chance to start huge and relevant in Brazil. About Sua Música, we just stepped in Medellin and Buenos Aires. We are production music over there, and we are happy. We are looking for making collaboration with those markets as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting movement because I mean I think you guys, I mean, with the whole expertise you have in a super huge like state in Brazil with so many challenges around this market. I mean, I guess you guys like broke some barriers there and you are ready to, I mean, cross the borders with the project, and hopefully we can see even more like collaborations and opportunities for the whole Brazilian market. And I have a question for you on the São João because I'm super like curious about, and unfortunately I couldn't make this year, but next year I will.
You need to
So
go. You must
yeah,
go
I mean,
this
I was supposed to go, but I mean,
year.
I couldn't. I
Well,
mean, I'm
sorry.
traveling here and there like crazily, so I'm flying more than Pedro Kurz at this moment. So if I surpass Pedro, I mean, things are a little bit weird. Anyway, so for the São João, it's a super, I would say 100% Brazilian party. Are you seeing like more international folks, like as an audience attending the event, or is something really shy that you should like even promote it even more?
Our big challenge right now is promoting São João, which is the largest party in Brazil, cultural party in Brazil. But our challenge is promoting to other regions. So São João right now is the largest party in northeast of Brazil. But we still have like some people in São Paulo and Rio who doesn't live São João as they should live. So, like my challenge with Sua Música is to reach more people this year comparing to last year. Last year we reached 45, if I'm not mistaken, 45 million people with the São João project. And this year we have a bigger challenge and bigger goal.
I kind frozen, but I guess I'm here, right?
Yes, you're
All
here.
good.
You're
My
here.
connection, it's, I mean, Murphy situation. Yeah, thank you, Marcela, for all the inputs. I mean, I think we should even more promote this party because it's completely different from like Carnival. That's all about Carnival here in Brazil. So when I go, I mean, I'm on a daily basis, I'm translating Brazil to the world. So I'm trying to bring that. It's not only about Carnival. We have so many interesting cultures around Brazil that you can promote and collaborate, as you mentioned, like the comparison bachata with sertanejo and cumbia and whatever. So there are interesting movements from the north of Brazil. So going to my friend Ian Hayashi. Yeah,
I just want to add one thing. If somebody want to watch the São João party, we are broadcasting through YouTube. So
good point.
everybody
Maybe you can add the
can.
link on the chat here,
I
Marcela,
will.
for
I
the
will.
folks.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, Pablo Vittar, the one and only. Pedro and I, all our panels, we bring Pablo Vittar case. I mean, it's something like unique. She's a phenomenon. And we are so happy to see like an artist from Brazil breaking the charts in the world with so many interesting collaborations. And with all the diversity challenge we face worldwide, we see Pablo like breaking everything. And since the major laser times, there is no kind of language barrier and our borders she can't cross. So what you can bring to us like on the perspective of live concerts, audience in Japan and America, Europe, what this is happening, I mean, how they're seeing Brazil and how Pablo is, I mean, taking our culture worldwide. I mean, bring us your thoughts.
Thank you. Oh, first of all, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Pedro and Marcela, for having me here. Working with Pablo, it's been so much fun and kind of creating this connection that just Marcela did. I think it's something that Pablo is from the northeast of Brazil, grew up in the north of the country, so started the career here in São Paulo, but we are always kind of mixing things, especially even in Brazil, like north and northeast rhythms with like global pop and everything around it. So it's a thing that we do and we think it's important to do, especially with Pablo was like the first drag queen to break to mainstream in Brazil and maybe globally. So it's part of exchanging things all the time, like creating. We do that all the time. Our last single was with Nachi Peluso, that is an amazing Argentinian artist, like won a few Latin Grammys now. And we did it with Thalia from Mexico. We did it from Lali, also from Argentina. We are always traveling around and trying to, but not traveling around and not working, just trying to get Pablo out there, but exchanging and get them here as well. Because even if you are a continental country, as you said before, so we're so focused within Brazil, like, because we got a huge audience here, we got a lot of work here, but it's super interesting and super important for us as well to go out there and to present our culture, our country, our music globally. And the perfect way to do that is through collaboration. So we are looking for it all the time. And as you mentioned, Chris, we work so much digitally, and we see that it's super important to go live, to tour. We are currently on our fourth global tour now. That is, yes, we have music in Spanish, we have music in English, but most of them are in Portuguese. And when you go to a major festival, like we've done Coachella, we've done Primavera Sound, we've done a few Lolas, the language is not a barrier there. The language is fine. People are interesting and curious and want to see and want to hear it and want to listen to it. So it's something that we are always excited about about traveling, about like going outside of Brazil, because it's a fun and it's an important way, and it's a way to connect other audiences that start learning Portuguese, start looking for more artists from Brazil, start looking to come here to learn a little more about our culture, because it's super rich. It's, like you said, we got like north that is super close to some countries. It's got northeast that is close to another countries. So for us, it's super important to always work on that, work on creating this exchange, like working with, even go like synth pop and hype pop with Charlie XCX. Like, it's important. Going with Septalisa, that was like a global hit for us, and it was like a girl singing in French, another singing in Portuguese, half of Spanish, a little bit of English. So for us, this is a possibility to keep showing our country and our music around the globe, and trying to create space, trying to create like a place for other Brazilian artists. Because as I said, like Brazilian funk, it's growing like fast, and it's amazing to see it. But we have a lot of more to offer. So for us, since the beginning, it's been 10 years now. It's super important to always exchange, to always look for other people's work, learn from it, and try to create a unique way to do it with a Brazilian twist on it, and be a part of festivals and global events, not only focusing Brazil, but focusing outside of Brazil as well.
Yeah,
Chris?
it's interesting. I mean, just Pedro, do you want to say something?
No, I would like your permission to ask Ian something, because it just popped my mind, and I'm like, wow. Big fan of Pablo, Ian, we've been working together with Pablo and Deezer since day one. But there's something that really strikes me about the way you and Gorky have been working with her like since the very first album, which is Pablo has demonstrated like throughout her career like a lot of authenticity. And in current times, we see people looking for attention on social media and all that. Like, how does an artist break outside of Brazil or any other country, especially in Brazil, given that Brazil has never had the necessity or like the need in any way to export their music, because Brazil is so big that artists can make a living just by playing in Brazil, right? So how do you see the work and authenticity? Like how did Pablo maintain this essence, her authenticity throughout the years, and how has this played out for the success that you've been achieving globally with her?
Yeah, I think the first thing of all, it's like getting the art first, like music's first. So always starting a project, it's about like what Pablo wanna say this time, what Pablo wanna talk about, what kind of music she wanna put out. So at the same time, we got Noitada, that is a super like club night kind of global rhythms, like electronic. And the other one is Batidão Tropical, that is like a cover album with musics from North and Northeast that she grew up listening 20 years ago. So for us, is especially about art, it's especially about music. It's about like, what can we make out of this, and not the opposite way. So the main point, it's never like we need to go global, we need to have numbers, we need to have charts. No, it's like we gotta put out music that we love, and we gotta show the people the music that we made and how we made it, and try to and look to connect with people that are connected with it. And it's not always in Brazil. You can find it, even in countries that most of the people doesn't talk Portuguese, doesn't know Portuguese, but they are connected to Pablo's music somehow, and they learn a little bit. So for us, it's been like 10 years, 11 years. And I think that from the beginning, it's like always putting the art first. It's always putting music in front of everything. And then we start working from that.
And to your point, I think this is super, super important and key. And Pablo is an excellent example for me on how artists should follow the heart, the true, and not only the numbers. We have now a kind of toxic environment in Brazil. It's all about the charts and following numbers, numbers and numbers. So Pablo followed her truth, and the art is following. I mean, she's getting the audience mainly because of this, and of course the excellent work you guys do together. So I mean, this is a perfect example for Brazil. I mean, as Brazil to the world, we should follow the true and the art, not only the numbers. It's a great point to bring because I mean, it's something that I have been like a mantra, trying to make people understand that this is not everything. I mean, charts are not everything. Unfortunately, in Brazil, we have some problems with the charts based on artificial streams and etc. So let's focus on what we do best, that is like art, culture. We are unique on that sense. And also an interesting point that I would like to bring for the discussion is for years, I mean, Brazil, we kind of had like this soccer game and players as the main key to export our work, you know? And we are seeing Pablo like breaking everything without no dancing, no like buzz with the soccer players around. But the funniest thing is that recently we had a successful case with MC Livinho, who went like viral in Turkey for like 6 weeks, like the top one in Turkey, and also spreading for different neighbor countries because of Galatasaray, if I'm not wrong. And the soccer players like playing the song and the buzz and the whole audience like playing together. And he went there, he was like celebrated. And I remember since the beginning with I Seu Te Pego and so many other songs, but I do believe that we still have some other ways, not only a viral song because of the soccer games and so Paulo, I think is something that we should like all like learn from this project. I mean, to export our culture.
Yeah, including I just saw Renato question on the Q&A.
Yeah.
And I think it's one point for us that we're doing just the same, like globally, that we did in Brazil in 10 years ago. That is, you got a tour. People need to see you. So our first year, we did like almost 200 shows in a year. We went to most of Brazilians states because you got to share with the audience. So it doesn't matter, like you're big in Brazil, but you're not big in Germany. So go there, do a small show. People will get there and people will start talking about it and people will spread your music through. So that's what we try to do. It's not about big shows. It's not about, it's about showing the audience a little bit more of your work, and it's gonna grow like like slowly maybe in the point of view of somebody, but some people. Not for us. For us, it's important to go there, go to your music. It's well, listen in Chile, go there, try to go there to a 500 audience. That's amazing. Then you can grow to 800. Then you can go to 1500. Then you can keep growing until you have a solid audience. Because especially in Brazil, as you said, like with the charts, with all the digital numbers, with everything around it, sometimes it doesn't translate to ticketing. It don't translate to sales. And you're an artist that you need that as well to keep growing, even to keep growing digitally back, and keeping that cycle going on. So that's what we try to do. Like we are currently touring. We're just like in Washington. Yes, the day before yesterday. We did World Pride, but it wasn't main stage. It was a good stage. It was an amazing stage. But you don't need to go big as we are in Brazil here, because there we are growing. We are in the middle of a path that we are, in the make. So for us, it's always like that. Like it's not focusing only in digital. It's focusing in exchanging, focusing touring, focusing having experience with fans, and even focusing with things that it's beside music, like we did in Japan now. That is an anime conference, because the thing that artists now, I think you gotta kind of do that as well. If you're a movie fan, start talking about movies as well. So you can reach new audience and keep growing, you know?
Yeah, 100%. And listen to you, and I go to my one of my favorite topics, and I know that Pedro is a fan of us also, that's localization. We have been studying about that for a while. And Brazil is unique. So Pablo is kind of the opposite of the globalization. You guys are breaking and crossing the borders. Historically, we consume most of our local songs, different from other regions that were, I mean, so it was all about like Anglo content and so, and we are seeing a different movement right now and different regions consuming also their local content. And in the past, I started in the music business from the publishing side. And we used to see like tons of versions. In the north of Brazil was like a little bit trick because there was, I mean, no license, no nothing, and we had to go after and try to license everything. And so, and at the same time, we used to see like a Brazilian artists changing their names to an international artist to reach a global audience. So now we see that it's possible with the Pablo Vittar name cross the borders, not having to change. So it's an interesting, I mean, comparison because things are really moving. And of course, the digital world helped us a lot to spread our content in an easy way. But it requires an effort. And also, I think it requires a resilience from the artists because it's not easy. So when I speak about this export piece and everyone, it's super easy, go there and play and sing and whatever. Renato is in the chat here, and I know how much he works on these live tour things. So it's not easy. I mean, most of the time, Brazilian artists are playing outside of Brazil for our diaspora, for Brazilian community, and our diaspora is like super small compared to the Latin thing. So when a Bad Bunny effect is really hard for us to get. Pedro, complement my talk because I know that you are really brilliant on that.
Thank you, as always. I think something that Jan has done very well with Pablo and a few other artists have done as well is know thy size. So I think knowing, like, when you tour outside of Brazil, you need to be humble and stay humble and really like, what is my size in this country or this city? Who can I play for? And just go for it. The same thing happens when Latin artists want to come to Brazil, right? They have to understand that it's not like a one-off or a one-time thing. You have to keep on coming to the country, building an audience, and that's how it's going to work. Some exceptions, like we see, but they're very rare. And Brazil has never consumed Latin, like Spanish-speaking Latin music, at a very, very high level. But Bad Bunny is coming to Brazil for one sold-out date that sold out in what, less than an hour, and there's a second date being sold right now. So there is something happening right there in the terms of globalization. But really, what's happening now is that Brazil is beginning to consume Spanish-speaking Latin music because the new generations, let's put Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they're much more connected to global trends and local trends, and they exchange a lot more between one another. I think the success of Bad Bunny's latest album, which was the first album that he released it to be charted in Brazil, is mainly due to TikTok and Kawaii, because the concept of the album was so well done that people could relate to it, and they started creating content like in UGC, and that created a wave of consumption for him that, in the end generated this whole selling out stadiums in Brazil for the first time ever. So I think for localization purposes, what Pablo's been doing is very unique, which is bringing the local thing and exporting it to different countries, but also bringing the local sides of Brazil. So her essence coming from the northeast of Brazil, bringing all the rhythms that she's been in touch with, and bringing those things to the rest of Brazil. So if you would call it like a meta globalization, because it's a globalization within Brazil, right? Brazil is so big that it can be localized in different regions. So I think it's a very promising new world for us in Brazil. I think there's opportunities for everyone to come to the country now. New generations are consuming content from all over the world, and it's been much more spread out than it has ever been in the history of music business. but it requires, as Jan has put before, a lot of effort and commitment. You have to be consistent with your actions. You have to learn about the culture. You have to find the right artists to collaborate with. And again, Jan, I know I'm talking a lot about your work, but I know that you guys with Pablo, you've been doing an amazing and a very thorough work in selecting the right artists for her to collaborate. So I think that's also very, very key. It's just not for the sake of collaborating. Like, I want to go to Brazil, I'm going to collaborate with Pablo or with whatever other artist. Like, if that artist does not connect with who you are as an artist, it's never going to happen because it's not going to look authentic, right? And authenticity, I think, is what is driving the artist world into a better place and into a place of more connection with the audience. So I think for me, what I would say, Chris, is it's a fresh new start for the music business when it comes to collaboration, and the audience is looking, for diversity, for new music that really resonates with them. Like at Deezer, we get 120,000 tracks every day in our supply chain. And that is creating like an immense catalog of songs, not to mention AI, because this is not the point of this panel, because if we start talking about AI, it's going to be never ending. But think about it. The competition is big. It's a lot of music being put out every single day. So if you want to succeed in any country, you just have to differentiate and be really authentic to who you are, as opposed to just releasing music every 15 days or every month just for the sake of it.
Yeah, 100%. And when we think about the opposite side, and I have been working for my current company for almost 6 years now, and we have sometimes to yellow to be seen. I always say it's hard to be seen down here because they always say down there, right? So when we see something around Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga concert in Rio, it was the first time in the last 6 years that someone, my leaders in US, they say, "Whoa, Brazil! I mean, I would love to be there attending Lady Gaga's concert." So I think we are like calling attention of the world because we are, again, unique for different perspectives, culture, fashion, music, and everyone should keep an eye on Brazil. I mean, we have so much, we are super resilient and humble to learn from different countries, but we also can teach a lot everyone about how we can survive it as a country with so many challenges, I mean, social, economics, and we are growing in our industry like year on year. So there's something great for us to teach everyone, and you should like stop seeing Brazil as like something, oh my gosh, I'm from Brazil, it's not the big, we are amazing. And living abroad, I can say that nobody can say anything against Brazil anymore for me, that I'm like the one that fight against and bring the great things we have and everything else. So having said that, and I guess we have only 5 minutes right now, I would like to ask for the final considerations from everyone. Marcela, please.
Chris, just to add what you were saying, and Pedro, I think we have a good news here. When we see the global Brazilian charts from São Paulo, Rio, we see sertanejo, rap, trap, funk is always on the top five. But when we check the Northeast chart, for example, we see other genres like forró, piseiro is totally different. So we have a scenario with a lot of diversity. So it's a good and great news for the Latin artists. They should enjoy it, all our diversity and space. And we have a lot of choice of collaboration here.
Very well pointed. Young?
Oh yeah, I think on my side here is it's what we've been saying. Like look to Brazil because we got so many cultural rhythms and great artists here that we got that kind of barrier that is kind of being breaking now with the Latin music coming a little bit more to the country. But we've seen a lot of collaborations yet, and most of them it's kind of looking for numbers, and we got to go a little bit more looking for a connection with artists, because you will have it here like north or northeast, or or super pop or bi funk, or so Brazil is an amazing country. We're starting to look outside as well. Like I've seen a lot of at least pop artists that are the artists that I work closer, looking more to outside of Brazil, and pop artists also looking to Brazil, especially Latin. So I think we got a great couple of next years ahead of us that we are gonna have that connection a little bit closer, a little bit more well built, I can say.
Pedro?
Yes. I want to say something different just for the sake of it. I think Brazil has created so much in terms of music over like 100 years, and I think Brazil has demonstrated its capability to create music movements that reach audiences all over the world. So before bossa nova was a thing globally, it was a small thing in Rio. Before baile funk was a big thing globally and still is, it was a small thing coming from Miami bass and local rhythms in Rio de Janeiro. So the thing is, Brazil, there's one thing that is the business, right? It's when it goes global, when it becomes mainstream, and a lot of people start doing it. But I think there's one thing that we need to look for, which is exactly what Ian said. It's the art when it comes first. So beneath the surface of all of the mainstream music, there's a lot of art being made and created every day in Brazil, which could be the next global thing or the next super like mainstream national thing. So what I would say is come to Brazil and look for the art, because there's a lot of art being made in Brazil every day in so many ways. Go to the Northeast, go to the North, come to the Southeast. I think there's plenty of different genres and cultural cultural layers that we can all explore. And you all, as music industry people, need to come and understand it better, because there's so much that we have to give, so much that Brazilian people were making music before music was a thing commercially. Like baile funk was never a thing in the beginning made for commercial purposes, because there were no DSPs at the time. They were not putting out records, like physical records. So it's a whole new world, and I think come to Brazil and look for the art. That's my final say.
Before we finish, I just want to remember that we have also Mutantes touring around the world for so many years. I mean, by the way, they are flying now to US, and there is a concert in Miami, New York. So, I mean, and I would like to thank you, Music Beast, for having us talking about Brazil. Hopefully next year we can be in live in the conference. Pedro and I were there, but next year maybe we can also, the whole of the four of us join the event. And thank you, Pedro, Marcela, Ian, for all the contribution here, amazing points, and so glad to be with you all discussing about our amazing country.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Jan, Marcela. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Music Biz, for having
Thank
Thanks,
you,
everyone.
Chris. And Pedro, Jan, and Marcella, thank you so much. Very informative conversation. I really enjoyed that. So we're going to move right into, I'm not going to waste any time because you guys are here to hear about Brazil, not me. So we're going to move right in and to our second panel. You guys can bring up your cameras and microphones, and here to lead the discussion is Arthur.
Hi, everybody. Super happy to be here. First, I'd like to thank the Music Business Association. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Aaron, and the whole team for having us today. Also like to congratulate Chris, Pedro, Marcelo, and Marcela and Ian for an outstanding panel. It's hard to keep up with that, but I'll promise we'll do our best. Just to quickly introduce myself, my name is Arthur Deutschert. I'll be moderating the panel today. I'm a partner and practice leader at Matt & Law LLP. We have our main office here in Los Angeles, California, and I mainly focus on music law, entertainment law, and immigration law. And we help several artists and their teams from across the world succeed in the US mainly. And enough about me. I'm super excited to introduce you all to our extraordinary panelists. I'm lucky enough to call them my friends. And I know them on a personal and professional level, so you guys are in for a treat today. Let me start with you and Hiki. So just to introduce them a little bit. So Hiki is a Grammy-winning music producer and audio engineer. He worked with major artists such as Zayn, Ray, will.i.am, the list goes on and on. But most recently, he won a Grammy with Juanes for Best Engineer Album. And this year, he won a Grammy with Beyonce for Album of the Year with Cowboy Carter. So huge congrats on that, Hiki. Then we have Livia Peixoto. Livia is a day-to-day manager at Jet Management. She worked at WME. She advised and collaborated with many US and Brazilian artists and worked for several years at Som Livre, which is the Brazilian's biggest record label and today owned by Sony Music. And last but not least, we have Johanna El Mullen, and she's a booking agent at Universal Attractions Agency. She worked in the capacity of tour manager and booking agent for several A-list artists in Brazil and the US, and worked at events such as Coachella, Bonnaroo, Lollapalooza, and several other events. Well, so let me start with some questions for our panelists, and I'll start with the main one that basically is the title of our panel. So we all know, and we heard how Chris, Pedro, Ian, Marcelo were talking a little bit about it, how Brazil's music scene is massive. But I have two questions to start. First, how do we make it global? And what are the main challenges that you see for our music to go global? So let me start with you, Hiki. I think you're back.
Murphy's Law is on our side today in both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're muted, Hiki. There you go. Oops. Uh, we cannot hear you for some reason.
Hank, what if you drop off and come back on? That may help.
Yeah, what happens to me sometimes is also the earplugs. We still can't hear you.
Arthur, maybe continue with the three of you, and Aaron
Yeah.
and I will shoot with him to get it
Sure.
back.
Sure. So maybe let me give it over to you, Livia. If you can tell us a little bit about where strategies are helping Brazilian music cross borders. What do you think it takes to scale an artist or sound across multiple markets? And just to build a little bit on what the previous panel was saying, what do we get wrong when trying to globalize something local?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. Well, I think that honestly, like if you're serious about taking your music global, I think you have to treat this as a long-term strategy, not just like a moment of hype, right? So one of the first things I usually tell the artists that you have to understand the market that you want to break into. You have to study the market itself and understand like how different it is from Brazil, because sometimes many things that works in Brazil, it won't work on other markets, right? So you have to understand how people consume music on this other market, and how do they discover new artists, and what type of sounds connects there, how communication works, and all of that. And also, I think one thing that is like main thing for me, it's you have to learn the language. I know that we have obviously a language barrier, because we speak Portuguese, but and I'm not only saying that, I'm not saying that for so that you have to like to, I'm not saying that you have to sing in another language, but it's important to build real connections, right? So like, I don't know, I think you really need to show up, be present, even if it's digitally, join online camps, apply for international programs, send your work to people outside of your bubble. And if you can, spend some time in person on the market. Like if you want to break into the US at first, like come here and spend some time here, building those connections face to face, going out to the festivals here and maybe play some open mics, you know. And also another things that you many times you're gonna have to start from the scratch. So I think you need to be very persistent and patient. Like I did it myself. I worked at Som Livre for 6 years. My career was doing great in Brazil, and then I decided to quit, come to the US. I didn't know anyone here. I had to study. I had to do an internship, an unpaid internship. Like you basically need to start from the beginning. You most of the time. I mean, it's not like a rule, of course, but I think you need to be prepared for that and know that. And I think Ian talked a little bit about it on the panel before, but like know that the success that you have in Brazil might not be the same at first that you're going to have in another country. So you have to actually build this new audience and understand the market that you're going for. I think one thing, like right now at Jet, I'm working in the electronic music and dance space, and I've been so proud of Brazil because there's not one single meeting that I'm on and we don't talk about Brazil, because we have like huge electronic DJs and Brazilian artists that are like going global right now. We have like Vintage Culture, we have Mas, Beltran, Mochak, I could say like a bunch of them here. And of course, it's, I don't know if the word is easier, but like you connect. It's easier for people that are not Portuguese language speakers to connect with beats, right? With different rhythms and sounds. So when you're a DJ, I mean, it's easier. You don't have the language barrier, but even like this, like when we go out to festivals, electronic festivals, I see other international DJs playing, I don't know, Baiana remix, you know, like Brazilian speaking songs and tracks, but like a remix or something. We had a release just like last week. We released a remix of Blondish, and it was a collaboration with Kiko Franco, who is a Brazilian DJ and producer for the song Natural Blues, Moby song Natural Blues. And that was amazing. Like he did this collaboration, and like the song now is #1 on Beatport dance space. It's like #7 on Beatport on the charts overall, and that's been like a huge exposure and visibility for Kiko as well. So I think it leads me to talk about like collaboration and how important I think they are in the music space. So just like just collaborate with producers that are not like that. They're, I don't know, it can be a Brazilian producer, but they live in the US, can be, you know, a engineering or another artist, and like build those relationships and collaborate. And I think, I don't know if Enrique is back yet, because I think he would be the best to talk about how
Back.
those collaborations they play a huge role when an artist is trying to break into globally. Do you want to add to that?
Sure. And sorry for the technical problems. I think like also using the cue from our last panelists, uh, I think the most important thing is to keep like the authenticity. Like, I think when people look at Brazil musically and artistic, they really want our most genuine and our most passionate, most original contribution. So like the US and the world's definitely looking at Brazil right now. And I think it collabs is definitely one of the biggest tools to connect this, to make this bridge between like two cultures, two markets. And I think the key for that is to keep like uh the authenticity. Like I hear a lot of people saying about the language, like Portuguese is definitely a challenge that we have, but the rhythms and everything that comes with I think like the synergy of like music, it's also like what people are looking for. Like it's not about the rhythm, it's how we consume music too. Like I think one of the most impressive things is this, like our adoration, like the way that we relate to music. It's like before the market, right? Like we said before. So I think the most important key to bring here, it's like that, like the way that we make music, the way we consume music, and just add that flavor to the party. I think we have to learn a lot with the market and the business side of the US, but we definitely have a lot to share with this, like the way we consume music and the way we create. It's incredible. So I suggest you keep that in mind while collabing. Like we have to be authentic, and I think like Pablo was like mentioned a lot, and she's doing a great job, especially on that, like keeping the true colors and of Brazil and how like majority of Brazil interacts with when it comes to fun, when it comes to music as entertainment. So I think that's the key.
Awesome. Yeah, I think you both touched on super important subjects because Olivia, you talked about, the power of collaboration and how that's a good, let's say in for the international market, and you and Hiki mentioned also, I mean, I feel like part of what you said touches also an important project point, which is, there's a lot of the cool factor in Brazilian music where people just, like about, like they love it, but they know much about it, and they know like a fraction of what it actually is. But there are also huge genres that are widely listened in Brazil, but kind of unknown abroad, such as sertanejo, pagode, piseira, and so many other ones. But before we kind of expand on that, I wanna hear a little bit about what Joe has to say as well about what's the power of the Brazilian audience, and I would say like not only the Brazilians in the U.S. and abroad, but also uh, let's call them the Brazilian enthusiastic audience. So basically, from your perspective as a booking agent, what it takes to sell those concerts abroad.
I think it's very funny because we're very passionate about everything. So everybody here, it's already known, like come to Brazil and all of that. It's also like we just saw Benson Boone last week posting, "Oh, I just came back from South America. I missed that crowd," because we are passionate about things. We're passionate about like everything that we do, and even so, we're living in another country. We still have the same love. We still have the same passion. So it's funny because we just wrapped a Gilson's tour, and all of my buyers were like, I'm very impressed. All of them knew the songs like from the top to the bottom, like every single song they know how to sing, all the lyrics. And it's something that they're not used to have that, especially like on those, like we played the Fillmore with Gilson. It's like one amazing venue, and they play like Rolling Stones play there, like just a huge legacy. You think that they were used to those things, but they're not. Like they're still not used to having like this huge love and this fan base. We're learning still how to translate those things into sales, because really need to understand that all the love that those people usually have in social media and numbers of streaming not always translate to ticket sales. So that's like, we go back to baby steps and understanding that the artist in Brazil might be huge. Whenever he goes to another country, US, Europe, you need to take the baby steps and figure it out, like, okay, I'm gonna play this room that it's very small, and you don't need to be proud of like, I'm playing a small room. No, you're building a new audience. It's just like us. Whenever we move to these countries that we're living, like when I moved to, we were all based in LA at some point. We all kind of need to regrow and redo all of our life. So whenever you're a new artist in those territories, you need to understand that like, you can be huge in your country. It doesn't matter that at all in there. So you kind of need to regrow and like, okay, let's do a 300 cap. Okay, that was amazing, sold out. It's better to, I always say that it's better to have a smaller room and you feel that people still need to have their rush to buy the tickets, or like, oh my God, I'm so sad I lost that opportunity to go to that show, than have a huge room and then you can see like empty space. So we always say that it's like gradually. Sorry, I think I went to some other future topics, but you know me.
So that's super helpful, and I feel like we all now touched upon this cultural barriers, but let's move on the more, let's say, business operational side of things, and let me stick with you, Joe. So what do you think are the challenges for you whenever you need to sell an artist? Well, so whenever in your relationship with the buyers, when you need to sell a Brazilian artist, what are the main issues for you?
It's funny because I work on a company that's been around, like they start with James Brown, so they're very well known for the buyers. They already know each other. They have a huge community. But whenever it's selling Latin shows, we Brazilian people, we go inside this box that it's almost like you have to fight with them, say we are Latin too. It's almost like going on a first date. You need to explain everything very, like the first time I'm gonna talk about this, and then the second time it takes, I would say like 8 to 15 calls to make them trust you to send you an offer. It's not as like, oh, I work with Dougie Fresh, I work with George Clinton, someone that is like already well known to the American market. And then you just pick up the phone and say like, I have this tour, they are coming here, this and these territories. Do you have a date? Can I place a hope? No, it's a very new relationship. So you need to explain, okay, you are Bossa Nova, not all of the Brazilian music is Bossa Nova. We have Piseiro, as we were talking, we have like Do the Beat is a different beast. So we kind of need to teach them who we are, and before you go to any selling point or anything like that, you need to understand that like we do, even our marketing is different from the general market artists. We still do a lot of like, for Brazilian shows, go to the Brazilian restaurants, give them flyers. It's more like one-on-one. What are you doing for your ads? What target are you having? So it's more like, I would say it's more like getting the hand of the buyer to explain and go with them on the path, than just like, here's the information, you want this or not. It's almost like it's a learning curve. It takes them a minute to understand who we're talking to, and then once they have a taste, like as we're doing that, they're like, what's the next, who are you bringing, I want to send me first. So like after they know who we are, they are more open to us, but it takes a minute.
Got it. And just to follow up on that, whenever you meet or you connect with a Brazilian artist who has, who was interested in, let's say, doing a US tour, you mentioned of like the difference between, going to small venues or big venues, but what's kind of like the thought process of you deciding on which venues are going to be adequate for those guys?
My first thing is always see with the artist manager and understand what is the path that they want to do. So like, for example, I had an artist that we were working on, and we probably would have an opportunity to go like play this huge festival. But the artist was like, I don't think that it's my chance to, I don't think that I want to spend that time right now, like on 25. I feel like I'm more like at 26, 27, because I know if I play the festival once, I'm gonna kind of like burn that for a few years. So they would rather like hold that opportunity for a future, or like, no, I think that's the only one, I want to just go and do it. So it's more like understanding where the artist is as like strategy wise, and then from there we'll go, and understanding like it's really hard for a buyer to send you an offer on an artist that has no true history. So that's why we're always saying like, let's start small and then we grow, especially like whenever we're talking about the big players. If you do well in the small room that they also have a huge catalog, and it's just like stepping up the ladders. So yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. And I think it's a good segue for us to talk about a huge topic in our industry, which is networking. So I wanted to ask you guys in your careers, like how has networking moved the needle? And also, if as Brazilians, are we doing enough? Or maybe, in a way, I would like you guys to comment on like, as a Brazilian, how how do you incorporate the networking that you learned in Brazil in the US, and how is that different? So, Livia, if you want to start with that.
Well, networking in our industry, it's pretty much everything, isn't it? um, I think, um, okay, so I think I learned a lot about it when I moved to the US, especially because I think we Brazilians, are we are a bit shy on networking. Like when I moved here and I saw like everyone's like, well, DM this person, invite this person for coffee, like invite them for a 10-minute call. And I was like, wow, but they don't know me. And like, I don't know if I have anything to add to them, if I have anything to say. But I think like we always have something to add. And I think like culturally we kind of push ourselves um back a little bit. I don't know if that's the right word. um but overall, like it's been huge in my career. Like I wouldn't be here where I am now at all if it wasn't because of the connections that I made. Like my first job at Son Livre, I got it because I was um like I was studying with a friend and she worked at Son Livre, and then she recommended me, and she told me about this open internship program at Son Livre that I had no idea about, and I didn't even know that I wanted to work in music by then, and she kind of like introduced me to that world. And then same thing when I moved to the US, I didn't know anyone here. I studied at UCLA for a year, and then you start to build relationships with your teachers, with your colleagues. And I had people in my class that was already working at Warner Music or something like that. And then it was through one of these connections that I got my first job here. Same thing, like the job that I'm right now at Jet, it was because I was also recommended by an agent from WME where I worked before. So I think like it all leads to it somehow, and I just think that we need to be more bold, maybe. And I think we are shy. Like I remember, I think it was with Enrique. He was introducing me to someone, a friend that he has, and it's like he's been working in the music industry forever here in the US. His friend that he has, and he was like, "That's Livia. Like she worked at Son Livre, it's a major record label in Brazil, and she works with the biggest artists in Brazil." And I was like, "Oh, Enrique, stop! It's not like that, you know." And he was like, "What's that? Am I lying?" you know. So yeah, I think we just. I mean, we need to be proud, because we need to be proud of everything that we do and about our country, and not be afraid to share our knowledge and our culture with other people. But I think like networking is pretty much everything. I don't know.
Can I just
Great.
add
Thank
something
Of
to
course.
that? I do believe that network is everything, and it's so funny that you ended up in rooms that you don't even know that who they are. So I always say like you always need to be very careful and treat people all very well
Yeah.
because it's a very tiny bit. Like for example, my first job in Brazil, in the US, the guy who I was like, I was living in LA. I was like, please, I really need a job. Help me, blah, blah, blah. It was a Brazilian guy that he was the mixer. That's such a full circle moment for Pablo Vittar. He was mixing like all Pablo's album, Rafael Fadu, and he was mixing some other things for an artist that was working. It was like, Rafa, please, I need help. Like, do you know? And also, like, I feel like we tend to not ask for help as a Brazilian. Sometimes we're like, we can't figure it out everything. No, I'm gonna, and we need to like understand, like, if you already know someone that is there, why can't you just ask him, like, hey, how can I get there? How can you help me? And also, don't forget who helped you get there, and also help others once you're getting somewhere. So just, I don't know.
Perfect. What about you, Enrique? What was your experience?
Uh, I I I'm very shy with networking, and I think like that comes from this Brazilian mentality that we might be bothering, like, or begging, or like, I don't know. But I got super lucky to be put in my first work here was at Record Plant. It's one of was it closed now, but it was one of the greatest studios in LA, but the power of networking, like it's undeniable. Like everything that's still happening for me right now came from the relationships I've built when I was a runner. Like I remember still being when I was still a runner, so I hadn't show anyone my technical skills or my musical skills. I was about to apply for a visa, and at that time, like I had the Black Eyed Peas, the Chris Brown management, and other artists like super down to vouch for me and be my sponsors and give me letters. So I was already structuring opportunities even before I got the chance to show my work. And those are lifelong relationships. And I keep getting calls and I keep like being around great people because of that. And it's a community. Like at one point, you ended up like opening doors, like Livia said, and it's with great pleasure that we I got to share my awesome friends with the industry. And I think she said something that's really right. We have something to offer. So it's a very fair game. There's no it's a fair relationship. You need something that I have and I need something that you have kind of thing. So for people that are shy with that, please, it's definitely uh, something that you gotta work and do it because everything this industry everywhere.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
absolutely.
think, sorry. No,
Go ahead,
just
Brett.
one thing. I think like most of the times we enter in a room and we think that we are somehow smaller, kind of,
The
than
imposter,
the other
yeah,
people. Yeah. Yeah, the imposter thing. Yeah. And then but we are not. We're
nah.
not. And yeah, just a small comment about it.
Yeah, and I just feel it's part of everyone's day to day, basically. It should be, like this purposeful, strategic movement on everybody's week to say, like, who should I reach out to? Who should I reconnect or connect or try to find a meet? And, like it's, I would say, even sometimes I always, talk to my team about it that, sometimes you're just not in the mood to network, but it at times it's just necessary. It's part of your work. It's not outside of your work. It's something that's like embedded in your, everyday life. So that's something that, we should definitely practice and preach about it. So, um, question that kind of leads me
One
to,
last
Can I
thing.
just add one more
Sorry.
thing? I'm so sorry.
yeah, of
That we
course, go ahead.
when we spoke, we said that in the past that I think it's really important for everyone. We need to nourish those relationships always, not only when we need something. So like we
True.
like tell people to have coffee even if you don't have nothing to offer them or if they have nothing to offer you. Create real connections to those whenever you need something. You won't be asking for someone that is a strange. And also like don't try to make relationships trying to get something out of it, meet people like you. We all lived in LA or New York and we are very used to like people saying before even what's her name is like, what do you do? So
Uh-huh.
don't go there. Like try to actually create a real connection with the person and then see whatever it takes you. So just to add that.
Yeah,
I was gonna
absolutely.
say also understand where and to like do those things. I think the most important thing, like networking objectively, it's like a mission to develop your career. I think it's really important to understand who hires you. So, because sometimes it's pointless to networking with your competitors, I would say. So I think it's if that's a goal, like a very strategic way of networking, and it's literally understand who are the people that at the end of the day hires you. That was my lesson.
Great, great. Great topics, guys. And then I feel, a good segue to that would be, forms of industry validation that we can, you guys think that could be a good source for Brazilian artists to go global. I would say one that's, very, very common for Brazil. Is the Latin Grammys. So I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the role of major awards such as the Latin Grammys? Like, how does that help in your job, or how do you see that helping in a Brazilian artist context, like in their careers? Livia, do you want to start?
Yeah, I think visibility um, gives the artist a lot of visibility, and also validity.
Dation?
How to say validation? Yeah, sorry. And validation. If you say, I'm an artist and I was nominated for the Latin Grammy Award for best uh, music with this song, blah blah blah, then maybe someone that never heard about you will look at you differently, after you have this validation or the thing behind you. But like, I also think that like Arthur and we've been going to the last couple of Latin Grammys, for example, and I think even if you're not as an artist, and also as like someone that works in the music industry, even if you're not nominated to something, it's really good if you can to be there during that week, because um, there are so many other events going on, like all like the major companies that they're doing events during that week, and the whole industry is there. So again, it's really good for networking, for showing up and have this face-to-face contact interaction. And I mean, if we have a saying in Portuguese, I don't know if I can translate it, but like, if you're not seen, you won't be, people won't remember you or something
Yeah,
like that,
yeah.
right? So I think it's always important. The Latin Grammys, the Grammys, if you can come to LA and go to some of the events of the Grammys, and I'm sure you get to know a lot of new people, and you again never know in the future how you can help them and how they can help you, and maybe 1 year from that event they will remember about you because there's an opportunity or something, and they're gonna call you. So I think it's just important to be present whenever you can. And yeah.
And Joe, does that help selling artists, do you think, being nominated to such awards?
Can I be super honest? On my end, no. I mean, I won't say it really doesn't help. It just doesn't move the needle. We can say like, oh, he was a nominated, or he was a winner, but it doesn't really. It might give validation, as Livia was saying, but it's not something that like, oh, I'm gonna buy this show because he was a Grammy winner, you know?
You don't know if they're gonna sell tickets, right? Like, he's a
Right.
Grammy winner, but is he gonna sell tickets? Like, yeah,
Right.
you need to prove on other fronts. Yeah.
Right, just more a matter of critical acclaim and credibility and validation as opposed to like translating selling tickets and streams and overall. Got it. And then I feel, now we're heading to the last part of our panel, and we have 9 minutes left. So I feel, it's time for us to zoom out for a second, and for all those challenges that we've we've described and discussed today, I wonder who's at fault, meaning like what it takes, like do we need to fix something in Brazil, or is it the problem of the market for us to go global? Because I feel like we're all here, based on what I heard from the previous panel and our panel today, we wanted Brazil to be bigger on the international market. We'd see a lot of potential, but we feel there's even more potential to be unraveled. So who's at fault, and where should we fix something, and what's next? So maybe Henrique, if you want to comment on that.
I think we should fix inside Brazil first. There's like I think when on the previous panel we were talking a lot about what Pablo's been doing as far as bringing like uh pride, not like pride in all levels of the word, like proud of being Brazilian, proud of being from Northeast, proud of all diversity that exists, like including like musically. So I would like to use Bad Bunny's album, the last one. When I was working, I was helping Josh to mix that album. And when we heard Debí Tirar Mais Fotos, it was instantly on both of us. He's American and one of the greatest mixers in the world. And we both felt that that song was amazing. So I think one thing that the Latin world is doing that we are kind of shy, it's like being proud of ourselves and proud of the music and proud of the Brazilian culture. Like literally, when I think it's one of like great cards to be Brazilian. Whenever I say that in sessions, people, oh my God, my best concert was in Brazil, or my craziest fans are from Brazil. I love Brazilian music. So I think when we understand that we are amazing musically, artistically, I think we're gonna be able to imprint that on projects and songs, and that will be like the door for that we need to open, the key for the door that I think we're struggling here. Like I think it would take us to embrace ourselves first to come here and like sell it.
Yeah, definitely. And just to build on that, I feel what it takes, my opinion, at least for Brazil to do, is that we need to see music as an asset and something that can be exported to the whole world as also a tool for soft power. So similar as, what we see in South Korea, and basically, music also as a diplomatic tool and a cultural boast, let's put it that way. So maybe Joe, if you want to talk a little bit about it, and what's your take on, from a policy government perspective?
I feel like Brazilian music, it's very, when we were also talking about this, is very similar to K-pop, because we have something that people like, but most of people don't understand what we're saying, or what's our language. It's just like a very few amount of people that speaks Portuguese, or like understand or have that interested in. And one of the main things that made K-pop being huge, it was the government investing money through grants to like sponsoring labels and sponsoring artists. So I don't feel that we have that right now in Brazil. We are starting to see a little bit of like things coming back to like Fernanda Torres and like Wagner Moura and all of that, but we don't have something similar. We have movements, but we don't see the government investing on culture, on music, and those things. Like we're even talking about like helping artists have an easy visa like relationship. Right now, we need to plan everything like 6 months at least, to like ideally a year out, because all the visa process is a nightmare for a tour. And then we also like, okay, we're doing this, but talking to the buyer, we are 85% sure that this is happening, because there's also like the visa needs to be approved and blah, 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 blah. And then you see like other countries like Canada, they have just an easy process for artists to come into the US. I know there are like different things in here, there, who's Brazil and like who's Canada, but I feel like we could try to make things easier for like not only visas, but like, okay, do you have any grants? How can we make these artists like notable? How we can have more government money in those things? I feel like this is a side that we are not seeing, because it's very easy for music to translate. So they think that we don't need those assets as help, but I feel like it would be very powerful if we have something in that sense.
Definitely, and I feel, what you're touching on a very important point, which is a systematic government support for arts, which unfortunately we don't see in Brazil. We started in the 90s, just like South Korea, but unfortunately that fell through, and we don't have this sort of very much needed support from the government. Now, just our closing remarks as we go to the end. So we have 4 minutes. And I wanted to thank everybody for being here. But before we sign off, I just wanted to ask, what's for maybe if each of you can spend a couple of minutes talking about what's next for Brazilian music to go global, and what's your advice for the ones listening to us today? Who wants to start?
I'll start. I think like we should be proud and have fun. And I think and understand and structure the way of there's two different worlds. One, it's an artistic thing that I think we have aced a long time ago, and we have the world already like looking at us in awe. But we need definitely to structure more of the business side of things. And I think like again, pulling back from the last panel, I think we now on a way of structuring this industry that is self-sufficient. And probably that was one thing that keep us like not really like triggered to run towards this. But I think like there's a wave of Brazil coming up, and I think what we need to do is do a little homework as far as like try to improve things like that. The help of the government, like structure also like the other way, like as far as interchanging like knowledge and people, like bringing foreigners to Brazil so they can add to what we have inside too, and maybe from that bring something to the world. But I think we are on a trend, and we just need to be fun and export that. That's like the thing that we actually need to export, like how we do have fun and create, be more proud of that, and structure the rest.
Thank you, Henrique. Livenjo.
Okay. I
Uh,
feel like um, I would say always think long term. Don't do things in a moment thinking that I need to do this and then this will be. I think like you need to understand where you want to go and what will make you get there. Just don't do things in a like I don't know like out of I don't know the word, but like out of the blue, maybe. I don't know. Have an idea of like where you want to do, what are the tools that you need to have to get there, if this is going to help me or not. But at the same time, have fun, as Enrique said, and take risks. So it's like it's a weird balance between like know where you want to go, how can I get there, and figure it out a way to make it happen. And I always say like we as a team, we can never want to have something happen more than the artist itself. If the artist is not giving that they're like 115%, doesn't matter what the tour manager does, the management does, the label does. If he's not there, it's gonna take a minute. So make sure that your artist, it's the first one that it's like with the eager to make things happen, not coming from like our end. So I would say this.
but also have an amazing team running side by side with you, right?
Definitely. Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been incredibly insightful, and thank you, music business, and thank you, Nicole, Aaron, and for everybody watching here. Have a great day. We'll talk very soon.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having.
Thank you all for this great and lively conversation. We very much appreciate it. And for all of you attending, please check out the Music Biz website. Under the events tab, you'll find out our upcoming Music Biz Passport events. We'll be exploring France, South Asia, China, Japan, Mexico, and many others. So feel free to register for those. All of those events are free at musicbiz.org. So thank you all so much. Have a great afternoon.